What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsays, Danny Marang. And yes, the camera is not zoomed in all the way. It's not broken. His mic, I think, still works. No technical issues as we know of. Brandon Sprague back for his triumphant return. He's coming back to the show full time. No, I'm kidding. No. I even put it on there, making like one-time appearance. Like, is he coming back full time? I'm like, no, guys. Like, he's got other stuff he has to do. Kids will do that, but I wanted to get you on here, especially this time of year where it's a little bit easier. We don't have a million games and a million other things. Apparently we've got an echo, which, of course, it wouldn't be a show without Brandon without an echo.
I hope I'm echoing. Then my laugh's just continuously going on and on and on and on.
That's perfect. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I was actually curious to see the intro of just like, did the muscle memory almost take you back to the Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague?
Yep. You know, I mean, look, we're radio guys. We have the muscle memory just kicks in immediately. I almost did. Okay, the echo's good now. So apparently there's YouTube's been acting all kind of weird for me, but yeah, they're blaming you already in the chat. It's Brandon's fault.
That's okay.
Look, technical issues. It would not be a Jack Ramsays with Brandon Sprague if we did not have technical difficulties.
You got to know your role on the team. I know what my role is. It's to take blame for all the technical issues. There's no doubt it probably is my fault. So I'm right back on the saddle in that way. But I'm doing good. I've missed the pod. This year doing the pod fascinating because there's just so much this, so much this, so much this, so much this, so much and so it's just like I had a lot of times. My kids are both playing basketball. They did in the fall, winter, and now here in the spring. And so it's like I'm coaching. We got skills practices.
The thing you said you would never do.
The thing I said I would never do. Well, it's impossible. You can't be a parent with youth sports and not participate in some kind of off-season program because otherwise nobody wants anything to do with your kids. So, like, I'm not doing year-round. I vowed I will take the summers off. We'll work on our game. We'll go to one camp, but I'm not doing club team stuff. My kids need the break. I want them to work on their game like a normal human being used to and enjoy their summers too. But I've been super busy. I've been seeing your post-game shows. Caught a couple of them because some of them weren't on too late.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, that's your bedtime, brother. You're long tucked in by the time I get on air.
Dude, there was one of the last games of the year, and I had a coffee at like 4, and I'm like, I'm catching the post game tonight.
There you go.
And it might have been the Utah game that they wanted to win, and then they didn't, and they're like, now we want
the overtime one? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm catching the post game. And I can't remember what time it was, but it might have been like almost 10, and I'm like, I can't catch it.
Not happening. I probably wasn't on because it was overtime. I probably wasn't on until 10:40,
right.
11 o'clock. Yeah,
maybe
trust
me. It was like 10:20, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's way too late.
It's shout out my producer, Danny, at K2, who with like 4 minutes left, he goes, this game's going to overtime. And Joe Simons and I just snapped at him like, what the fuck are you doing? You don't say that out loud. Like, we both did the same thing. Like, you're 24, dude. Time is a flat circle for you. We're old as shit. We need to get home.
We should be in bed right now. It should not be happening.
Joe's got a 7-minute drive home from K2 Studios. I've got an hour drive at midnight getting home, and I'm just like, he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Not really sorry.
You know. So you haven't been on. You've had your fill of the Blazers season. We'll get to your guys' questions as many as we can get to. We do have a hard out with Brandon because he's got another practice to get to. So, another practice? What has been your takeaway holistically of the season, and then we'll kind of progress into the exit interviews and then the questions.
Season started about what we had kind of talked about. In terms of how I thought it would maybe look. And I know some of those dudes, like Ant had a really slow start to his season. Denny had a slow start to the season. But almost from the get, like Tamani just kind of made his presence known. So that was the positive, I think, to start through almost the first half. And then that streak, the 10 of 11. I mean, they talked about that in the postseason press conference, but just wildly unexpected. Nobody, I honestly, I don't mean this as a slight to any person. I just don't think anybody can explain what happened there. They caught fire. They couldn't lose. They played really well. They played out of their minds. And as they cite, multiple times, the 41 games, I just kept coming to, man, if I was doing the podcast, what we would be talking about. And there'd obviously be developmental things we talk about.
Mhm.
Scoot, hey, we buying this. Has Scoot figured out? Shea, what's wrong with Shea? Hey, has Shea figured out? Man, look at Denny tearing it up. Tumani's great. We would also, I think, just confronted the obvious thing with this franchise, and that is they cared more about Alex Sarr than they did Cooper Flagg, and they talked about that at their press conference and explained their thinking and their views. So, doesn't mean I agree with it, but that's kind of where it leaves us, is just what next for them if the lottery and the coin flip don't go exactly their way.
And that's, I think the crux of it is when you look at it, and I do think they did value Cooper Flagg, but I think they realized around late December, early January, when they started kind of clicking, this is before they go on the run, that they weren't that bad. Like they weren't going to be. So, Jason Quick reported on this. I reported on this. I think Heiken reported on this. All the meetings that kind of happened, the come to Jesus meetings, as it were.
New York, right? The New York meeting?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It happened in New York twice, basically. It happened, the year before when things went really sideways. And they still got their asses kicked by Oklahoma City. It was at 60 whatever points. But 2 years ago, it was about the same time they started to kind of figure some stuff out. This time they were figuring more stuff out. And that's when my tune changed. Was early January. I was like, this team's going to win more than 21, 22 games. Even though their record wasn't that great, I was like, just watching them play and being around them, I'm like, no, I didn't expect 10 out of 11. Do not get that twisted. Like, I did not. No. But they were like, I remember just being around and talking to guys like, no, man, we're figuring some stuff out. I remember talking to players in mid-December. Guys were pissed. Like, they just did not, like, up and down the roster. Nobody likes losing. It just makes for a bad environment. And guys were just frustrated. They were so frustrated with everything. Like, and with themselves, with other guys, just nothing was going right. Except for their health. For the most part, they were healthy. A few knocks here or there, but otherwise everyone was pretty damn healthy. And that was the frustrating part, is that despite the year before where everybody was beat up and everyone was injured, this was guys are mostly healthy and they're not doing anything. But then they started to kind of figure some stuff out, and I was like, this team's going to win 28, 29 games. And then it became 32, 33, and then it was like, they're going to win more than that. So, and the idea that stands alone isn't entirely true either, because I think the front office and the coaching staff were pushing for wins because they're both in contract years. Like, you can't ignore that. Like, you have to have some sort of proof of concept or something along that. And I think that definitely played a part into it. Now, a coach is always going to coach his hardest. They're like, Will Hardy was going to tear his hair out by the end of the year in Utah. Mm-hmm. Like, he had multiple blow-ups because he was so frustrated. And even knowing full well that they were chasing that unicorn, right? It's still not fun. It still ate at him. It still was all those things. But they got through it somehow, some way. We'll see if they end up better for it on the other side on Lottery Day on May 12th. Mm-hmm. But when you kind of look at this season, and I think this is kind of an eye of the beholder situation, do you look at this season, like, do you qualify this season as a success, or is it a failure because they're not in the top four, or excuse me, the bottom four, bottom five, or like, how do you kind of look at this? Because the way that Dusty and I have talked about it has been, I think it's really eye of the beholder kind of a situation.
Yeah, no, like, I go back to it's almost been a year. You and I remember being at our Fan Golf Classic. We were at a golf tournament. And we were just chilling on a par 3 almost all day. And you and I were talking, and I said, kind of curious. I can't remember. A trade had happened of some sort, and I'm blanking on it right now. But we were talking about a team that had just made a move or something. And Summer League was kind of around the corner. And I remember us talking, and I'm like, I'm legitimately worried there's 9 teams that could be worse than Portland. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying that. And, like, I think about it now. Is it a success? I would say this. Nothing is ever as cut and dry as pick this or pick that. I do think eye of the beholder is important, mm-hmm. but like I can easily tell you Denny figuring it out and being comfortable in what they are, that's a positive. Tumani looking like an all-NBA defender without a question. Will he make it? I don't know. I hope he does. He deserves it. He was remarkable on the perimeter. He guarded multiple positions. That's obviously a positive. Klingon played more minutes as the season went on. He didn't look as tired. So, does he take what he did and does he get in better shape? And now I'm ready to go. I think the tough thing is question marks with the veterans. Like, is DA back? Is Ant back? Is Grant back? I have my opinions on each of those guys from the press conference stuff. But I also if I told you everything that we've talked about, the Tumani growth, the Denny season, if you get all of that, but you Raptor it and you lose 5 more games, because I think I checked 5 would have put you at 6. I know it's not the biggest of percentage difference, but I wasn't expecting them to be top 3. I thought that was kind of insane to think just because they had too many veterans.
Yeah, I had them at 5-6.
Yeah, I think we were largely in lockstep on that of if you finish 5 or 6, I don't even think I really killed them that much this year on the air. But I had my moments where I'm I get what we're doing here. I know people don't like to lose. That's what the money's for. This is a draft, man. This is the draft. You and I have been talking about this dude for a year and a half. And I understand everything you're saying. It just throws me off that this was the year where it was all this progress lasts 4 minutes. And then when they decided to lose, it was not Atlanta, Chicago, yes, maybe not Utah, but now yes, Utah. It the way it ended was weird. And so if you give me everything that happened, but you lose 5 more games, I really don't have a complaint. And that's where they kind of lost me a little bit, was just that difference.
And I've kind of said this all year on TV and the radio. To me, it wasn't the end of this season, and don't get me wrong, there was a couple weird ones in there for sure, like Atlanta for sure. But it was the 5 wins that they picked up in the beginning of the season that nobody expected. New Orleans, Minnesota, when before New Orleans was totally injured and Minnesota just had their head up their ass, those were the ones where I was like, where the hell did that win come from? You know what I mean? Because
but now you look back on that and you go, New Orleans, dog crap. Minnesota had just that Randall fit was so odd at the beginning of that for a long time. And you look back on that a little bit.
Yeah, in a perfect one, I'm glad you said that. You can't just look at one path or this path or the other, because so many people want to look at this as black and white stuff, but there's so many competing agendas. Whether it's player-driven, whether it's coach-driven, whether it's front office-driven, whether it's ownership-driven, whether it's business-driven, there's just so many different things. And when I get people that stop me at games or when I'm out and about and want to talk Blazers, they want to say this, and this, and this hard and fast thing. And I'm and they're like, well, you love your job, right? I'm like, I love it. And I go, if there's anything I could change, is that I wish I was a little bit more naive to all the other stuff again, so that I could almost believe it's easier to have the black and white. But when you talk to literally everyone on the team and you hear the things that you hear in the course of covering a team over a long time, you begin to understand all of these different things. And some people will say, well, the best organizations prioritize this, the best organizations prioritize this. And I'm like, yes, but I can call out very specific things for all of those other great franchises. So much of this is luck dependent. And I'm not saying that it's to carry the water for the Blazers or dismiss anything. It just is. There's so much luck involved with this stuff. And even the luckiest franchises, like Oklahoma City, don't have anything to show for it yet. What is it, in the last 50 years, the last 40 years, there's been 14 different title winners?
Yeah,
it's a small pool.
I 100% agree. I'm not.
Well, I know you're not.
The ring thing is, look, I want to see them win as much as anybody breathing oxygen. That'd be great. It'd be fun. I'd love to see that. But it's also just Oklahoma City hasn't done it yet. Yeah. And maybe they won't. Maybe they won't. People don't want to pick them yet. And they're too young. They don't have who's their number 2. Okay. But they had maybe the greatest offensive output season we've ever seen.
By point differential, it was the best.
It's the best we've ever seen. And they're going to probably have the league MVP. So like they might not win the championship, but I'm not going to say like, oh, I don't want to be Oklahoma City. They didn't
Oh
win the
no! Trust me, I'm not
championship.
saying that. I'm just saying like for every single there's just stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I love that the sun is just perfectly working its way like right up to your eye
Literally
line.
just came through, and I have a
Yeah.
mirror in front behind my light, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go
Yeah.
turn my blind.
Go.
It's ridiculous.
No, it's like I said, it wouldn't. Oh, look, we're gonna track you around the room. Your camera is following you around the room.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We get the whole
room.
we get the whole layout. Trust me.
There we go.
There you go. Just pull up your little bar and hit the tap lock on your freaking camera.
I did. It's tap locked. I promise you.
No, turn the tap lock off. Make sure it's not red.
I did that.
I can say this, guys, because we have the exact same camera.
We do have to say shout out our work.
All right, let's kind of progress to the exit interview stuff. What was your main takeaways from that?
Some of it, what I expected it. The Chauncey extension thing, like I'm not going to act like I was sitting there predicting Chauncey Billups was going to come back, but there was a little bit of, I don't know. I feel like they have moments where their messaging is crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I can confidently say the end of the season was great. They cite the last 41 games, but if you go into kind of the numbers, they didn't play great teams. In fact, like a lot of their wins came against the bottom offenses and the bottom defenses. They played they beat Denver. Denver didn't have Jokic. So like there's an element of what they did that like I hear them, I understand it. But man, to not lose just a couple more and to I heard an interview with Joe, and Joe basically said, we think the talent in this isn't just top 4, and obviously they're in that 9-10 range, depending on the coin flip in the lottery. And so it's like, let's say they stay at 9 or 10. I think they could definitely get a good player.
Sure.
Or is history going to be on our side that's even an all-star? And so like, that's what this team is missing. And so like Chauncey had the answer of could be on this team. I just think it's a bad answer. That's just like that.
My eyebrow went up at that too.
I mean, it's like, let's just be honest. Call spade a spade. That there is no reality-based moments like where that's really accurate. Like he cited SGA. SGA wasn't thought of as an MVP. Everybody thought SGA was a really good player. That was a huge part of that trade was they were getting a young, great point guard. Now he took a step, sure. Giannis wasn't the last pick in the second round. Danny Ainge, Danny Ferry, real smart basketball people were on to Giannis. He just fell to the Bucks. And Jokic is like the worst example you could cite is Jokic because nobody has a Jokic exist ever.
No, Draymond's the closest thing as far as being as good as he is as a second round pick.
Right. So like that plus I kind of felt like their tone of expectation next year, it seems a little high. I mean, if you're going to say the last 41, and I thought you asked a good question, the last 41 versus the first 41.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of vibes that I got that was their entire future's locked in on that sample size and the 10 of 11. So let's re-extend the coach, and we think we have the star here. And I'm walking away going, I wasn't overly impressed with Scoot's season. I wasn't overly impressed with Shaden.
Mm-hmm.
Donovan took a while to kind of get it going. He had moments, but he took a while to get it going. And I still don't know how limited or not limited he's going to be offensively. And, you look at Denny's numbers. Denny had such a great end of the season. Denny's numbers are almost identical to last year. He's up in some categories, and he's like the slimmest of margins down. And so, like, I like Denny a lot. But I just wasn't, like, taking away a lot from other than those two, to be quite honest with you. I hope for the best. But, yeah, the press conference was just kind of – their messaging tends to be a little up and down for me when I listen to what their answers are.
So – On that point, we have, I think, mostly the same general thoughts on it. I thought they actually tampered expectations.
Well, see, I would have said so too, but Bill Oram kind of said like, "Yo, are we talking playoff here?" And I don't think they would be honest with you and say we're going to be the 6 or higher seed. I mean,
No, I think
move.
when the way that they interpreted that, and this is, I guess, me being charitable, was that they were thinking more play-in because it's technically playoffs. And I think the next step for this team is to be like in a play-in level. And obviously Joe caveated it with we got to get through the summer and the transaction cycles and the draft and everything else. Right. And he's right to that, because everything's like right now, the idea of like so many of the questions that I've gotten so far in the postseason wrap stuff is, well, what player do you think they're going to go get? I'm like, check on May 13th, man. Like, we got to know where these guys are picking, like what options are available. Dude. And it's not just for the Blazers. That's just kind of, if you're basically in the bottom 10, you kind of have to know like who's jumping up, who's not, who's positioning whatever. Like, and there's going to be, like I've mentioned this on the radio, there's probably going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 guys that you do not believe are going to be available this summer. Like there are teams that are deathly afraid. Oh, screw it. I'll just say it. Like there are teams that are deathly afraid. Are licking their chops at Giannis Antetokounmpo possibly being available.
Yeah.
Like that's like, that was one of the biggest like things at Hoop Summit. Every executive that I talked to was like, "You hearing this Giannis noise?" And I was like, "You're not the first person to say this." Like I had probably half dozen people say something about that. And whether or not it actually happens, oh. But like there's certainly noise. There's noise out of Denver that they're going big game hunting and that they could part with Jamal Murray. Like there's going to be, and KD's out there. Zion's out there. If Memphis falls off the rails, don't be surprised to see John Morant out there. Like the Hornets have been, depends on who you listen to or who you talk to. LaMelo Ball is available. Like there is no shortage of like names that could possibly be out there. And if Giannis leaves Milwaukee, you think Dame's going to hang around? You know what I mean? Like, and so these big dominoes could all fall depending on how things shake out in the lottery and which teams go which way. And Mark Stein had it just a little bit ago that the Rockets are, after a 52-win season, the 2 seed, are even less interested in pushing all in for Kevin Durant.
Well, yeah. Why should you go all in for Kevin Durant? He's a good player.
Yeah, but if they're going to go all in, it's for the other guy on that roster. It's for Booker. Like
sure.
That's who they go for.
If I'm them, I'm going all in for the Greek Freak because, my God. But that's the thing is all those names, there's only one name on that list of players you just rattled off that I'm like, Portland is even sniffed. I mean, let's just Giannis isn't coming to Portland.
Oh no! I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying like what that does to the rest of the league and how things shake out. Like,
right,
the cascade effect of one big deal leading to another, leading to another, leading to another.
So the tough thing with placing expectation and basing what your future is on that sample size, though, is this: if the play-in is the expectation for them, then how many games did Dallas end up winning? And they were the 10 seed,
did they get to 39, 40? Where did they get
I couldn't remember. I saw it last night.
Yeah, no. I cleared, like, as soon as the season got over, I emptied my brain on that stuff. 39. Yeah.
Okay. So can you improve by 3 to maybe 4, depending on how the West is? What is Wemby? Is Wemby coming back from the clot? San Antonio, I'm going to put back in the mix.
Yeah. I think the Kings are a team that definitely could fall out. The Grizzlies.
The Kings could fall out for sure. We'll see what the Suns do. It's not a good situation, but I don't want to completely dismiss the idea that something could swing.
The Pelicans could pop back up and be frisky.
If Zion's healthy, and then
or if they move Zion and get something in return that makes more sense for them. There's a lot.
I know Dallas is going to be without Kyrie for most of the regular season, but like I'm not going to say Dallas is going to be garbage. So like my point is you might not be good enough to make the play-in next year if you don't add significant pieces and you don't fall in the right spot in the draft. And then what are we saying? Like it'd be what? That'd be year 4? Year 4?
Yeah,
right?
going into year 4, yeah.
I don't know. I think I keep coming, and you know what? Like the other thing that stuck out for me in that press conference, I don't know if this I mean, you were there, obviously asking questions, and your eyebrows are raising to some of the things. I instantly text Gundy the minute I heard it when Chauncey and Joe decided defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Sean asked a defensive-based question. It was like, you were 27th or 28th the first 41. You were top 5 the last 41. Mm-hmm. And so they were talking about defense. And Chauncey, like, he didn't flip from, like, not caring about offense, but it was just like defense wins championships is basically what he was echoing. And it was defense, and it was defense, and it was defense.
Did you go Nico?
I'm like instantly hearing this, and I tell myself, I go, Sprague, Scoot can't shoot. Shea's not the greatest ball creator.
Mm-hmm.
You might move Jeremy, but are you going to get anything amazing? You're going to have a rookie, so I'm not going to put big expectations on shot creation there. Donovan's not a shot creator. Tumani's not a shot creator yet. Like Denny, they're going to sign Ant. I'm just like, they're going all in on defense. I'm texting Gundy. They're bringing Ant back because they don't have any offensive creator unless they hit in the draft
or they make a trade.
That lottery ball bounces their way, Danny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I think they're going to re-sign Ant. We'll see what happens with Jeremy. DA's probably back. We know Rob's going to be back unless they can move him, even though he's off an injury.
Yeah.
I just don't know how different the roster's really going to be. And so, like, what is the expectation for people? I don't know how reasonable the play-in is.
No, I mean, it's a fair question. Like, when you look at it in that framing, this is like, Chauncey said it in the press conference when Ant's name came up. You know, Ant sees coverages that 90% of players in the NBA don't see. And he's not wrong. He's 100% right. And you can be like, oh, you're Ant guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Like, the facts are the facts. Like, nobody else in this team is seeing 2 defenders at 40 feet. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of this. Like, I have talked to opponents and I have talked to opponent coaches. He puts fear into teams because of when he gets hot and because of how far he can stretch the floor and because of how far out he can manipulate a defense. They're more worried about stopping him than basically anybody else on the team.
Right.
If you actually watch the film and you know what teams are trying to do and what they are trying to take away, it starts with him. Like they know because to quote his trainer, Phil Beckner, shooting is the separator. And that's what allowed Denny to be so good as he started hitting shots. And all of a sudden, defenses had to extend out on him too. And look, he's not taking 10 threes a game like Ant. He's taking half that. And while he showed dramatic growth off the bounce, he's still not covered the same. Like Ant has basically 5 years of being an elite shooter from 3 in the NBA. And not like a guy who's like, oh, he takes and makes a couple threes. Like, no, he takes 10 a night and he hits like a 39% clip. Like there's only so many guys in the league that do that, right, over his career. And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a chance that Ant is back. Like that.
What's the reaction you think if they do that?
Oh, I'm sure people are going to be pissed. And they're like, turn the reins over to Scoot. Well, the second Scoot Henderson starts hitting high volume threes and stop going under him on pick and rolls, that can happen.
It's not his game, though.
But that's kind of, and so much of this is predicated. Like, let's say the unbelievable happens, and Cooper Flagg is a Portland Trailblazer. May 12th, the Blazers win the lottery, however small the chance.
We're crying.
Well, I mean, we are. We're probably doing a show somewhere, and you and I are getting very drunk. But you now have 2 Flagg, Denny, Klingon. Which guard on the team fits that profile the best? Huh?
I don't want to answer this question.
Yeah. Which guard profiles the best?
The one that throws the best lobs.
No, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
There gonna be a lot of room in that paint?
You're damn right. We got a rim running big. We got Cooper in the corner. We got 2 on the wing. I mean, come on, my man. Put Cooper in the dunker spot. I mean, it could be all day.
Yeah, you don't believe that. You don't believe that for one bit.
Well, but like, so this is sometimes with this organization, a lot of us can disagree on what they do or how they do some of what they do, right? But you gotta just try to maybe I'll be way wrong. Hold this for like the old takes exposed thing. I'm hearing this press conference and I'm like, yo, probably gonna pick ninth. Historically, like I know people are jacked. I've seen the internet. Con Kniffel is gonna be the most amazing white player.
He's also not gonna be there at 9.
Probably not, right?
The furthest I've seen him, like the furthest I've heard him mocked or talked about is 7.
Okay.
He'll probably go top 5.
Asa Newell, Derek Queen, like whoever the hell.
Queen's also probably going earlier.
Okay.
You're probably looking at Kasparas Giakoušionis, Yegor Demin. Asa, like
Demin fits their talent profile.
Big, long, rangy playmaker. Yeah, but again, the shooting is so suspect. Like you are struggling to shoot at that point.
How old is he? He's
19, I think.
19, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The Illinois kid I like. He also fits their talent profile. I'm just saying, like, if they don't move, whoever that player is may become a very good player. But I'm not going to put a lot of eggs in that all-star basket. I'm not putting it in the superstar basket. So it's like, where's your offense coming from?
Yeah.
It's him. I'll be interested to see how the balls fall. We'll see. But it just made a lot of sense listening to that press conference of like, they're going to do it. And we know this organization. They love the players they draft.
I think that's true of every organization. Like when you're drafted and you're homegrown, as it were, teams just don't want to give that up because it's what they know. It's the devil you know, as it were. I'll say this on the Ant stuff. To me, the only way that I think that they move him is if they find a player that does what he can do.
So you want a shot creator for a shot creator,
let's say the everyone's favorite deal, Ant is dealt to Orlando, and you get back Anthony Black in a first or whatever your favorite machination of that is. You're now doing another deal where you're getting another guy back from another team in another transaction. Like I think that's the only way that happens. Like I think they value kind of what he is and what he can do, and what it does to opposing defenses. Like, and again, I know it's rich coming from me, blah blah blah, whatever. I don't care, but
if you're gonna trade him at that point, I'm not interested in Anthony Black. You might as well just lean into your identity. Go get Jalen Suggs and just score 60 points a game and make everybody make it 62 to 50.
Just the ugliest basketball you've ever seen in your life.
Go rewatch those Chauncey Pistons games, by the way.
Oh, they're the least watched finals of all time against the Spurs. Nobody watched.
Well, there was no scoring. Those games were terrible.
They're in the 70s.
Like, Chauncey's going to want to be like, hey, I played in the 70s. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Chip. So at that point, but I'll be curious to see if they decide to do that, Danny, what the reaction's going to be, because if next year ain't it for Scoot, I mean, people are just going to connect the obvious dots like, well, it ain't happening here.
Here's the thing about this. I should say I kind of roll this back a little bit. Yeah. Do you think, and again, I don't use the 41 games, I use 50. Which, again, it's 9 games, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I go from January 1st because that's when you started to see the change. Because I like to have, like, the run-up to it, not just be like, oh, here's when they started winning. And I don't care about the wins and losses. I care, like, everybody's like, oh, they only, like what you said. Oh, they only beat a couple good teams. They mostly beat bad teams. But when you look at a 50-game sample, I don't care who you play. You didn't play 50 bad teams, regardless of whatever situation. The defense is good. Like, are you at least at that point where, like, yes, the defense is good?
I think the defense is in between where it was and where it finished. And that could be 10th.
So you're looking at basically like a top
13th, though. Could be 15th. Now you're middle of the road. Like, I'm not ready to say that defense is top 5.
Well, as a reference, they finished 16th defensively.
Total?
Yes, on the season.
For the season, right?
So I think it's pretty fair to say they're at minimum –
So
10, 12.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
At like,
probably somewhere
if you're looking on the high end, they're a top 10 defense. If you're looking on the low end, you're looking at like 8 through 12, maybe 13.
So I looked this up, okay? And I wrote some notes.
Ooh, notes. I like notes.
So I took the 19th point. So this will be a little against what you just said. You went 50. Yeah. I did the back 41.
Okay.
Their wins: Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
no playoffs. Miami, we'll see. Orlando twice. Charlotte twice. Milwaukee. Phoenix twice. Indy. And go back and look at that Indy game, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I know you probably remember. Halliburton scored 0 points. It's
Yeah,
like the weirdest thing in his career.
Well, if you go back and watch that game, Tumani put him in a straitjacket.
He only shot like twice. It was crazy.
There's a reason for that. It was probably one of Tu's best performances of his career so far.
Sacramento.
He's proud of that one.
That was the first Levine trade game. That was the first game for Levine on the trades to be Sacramento. Utah, Washington twice, Brooklyn, Philly, Toronto twice, Memphis, Denver without Jokic, Atlanta, San Antonio. And if you want to count the Lakers with Bronny starting, you can. 12 of their 23 wins in the last 41 were against teams with the same amount of wins or worse. And 14 of those wins were against the East. And 10 of their 23 wins were versus the bottom 6 offenses in the league, according to Cleaning the Glass. And 12 of their 23 wins were against the bottom 9 defenses in the NBA. So, I think there's things you can point to. I also think it's totally fair to say, not sure that's exactly the sample size that I want to say draft percentage is not quite as important as we thought going in.
And that's why I go to 50. It adds more games to the profile. Because I'd
have to go look at those numbers of the fifth, like those extra 9 games.
So they were 25 and 25 in those 50 games. And I would say they were a drastically different team January 1st on than beginning of the season until New Year's. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, they definitely
not just wins and losses, but just like how they played.
Yeah, where they were in December, and yes.
And that's where I kind of give it the credence, and that's where I look at this and I go. And again, I'm not saying they're like I'm projecting them to be basically a 41 win team, which I don't.
So you think they increase 5 wins?
I think as it stands right now, they're a 9-10 team in the West. Now that the wrench gets thrown in, because I'm projecting the Kings to Kangs this thing hard. Like they're gonna.
They already have. They became the Kangs last night.
Yeah, they did. The Spurs are gonna go back up. As much as Ishbia wants to do something, I don't know how much they can truly do without hitting the full reset button and dealing Booker. There's all kinds of rumors coming out of Phoenix.
He really wants to be there. He loves Phoenix.
I mean, who wouldn't? Let's be honest. For
Scottsdale, what up?
Multitude of reasons.
It snows there.
It's a lot bunnies. Just bunnies everywhere. Yeah. Jackrabbits even, as it were. But I look at them and I'm like, ugh, I don't know if I trust that. And again, I'm not saying that this team is like, oh yeah, no, they're dyed in the wool. They're one of the 5 best defenses in the league, blah, blah. I think their defense is definitely good. I think if you have a team that is this big, this long, this strong, this athletic, it's hard to be bad defensively. I think the bad part of their defense is probably gone, and they're at minimum above average.
Yeah.
And I look at Billups and Cronin and what their profile and the whole front office and how they draft and what they target. It's the thing you and I have talked about for so long, the difference between Joe and Neil and kind of what they prioritize. It's there for everyone to see. And you can yell about it, fans, as much as you want. Like, this front office prioritizes different things than the last front office.
It's easily been, I mean, look, there are other things you can point to, but it's easily been my favorite thing that this regime has done is like, we're not going to have our starting lineup be 6'3" guards.
No.
6'3" guards. Like, we're not doing that.
They're quite literally the biggest team in the league.
However, let me ask you this then. 5-win improvement, if that's your thoughts. Let's play the game of they've re-signed Ant.
Okay.
I will play the game that Jeremy does get traded because I don't know how we listen to that press conference and not think, well, this doesn't feel like his favorite place anymore.
Look, I mean, I've said it on the radio. I'm not certain. I'm very sure that they will try to find a home for Jeremy, and I think they will work towards that this summer.
Okay. So let's say they actually finally do that. And then Rob, I don't know what that timeline is, so whatever. DA comes back. how much depends to get to that point, though, that you're saying on what Scoot is, what Shaden is, what Klingon is, how healthy some of the vets that are on this team coming back next. Like, how much hinges on those things to go the right way?
You're basically looking at the zero-sum game of if they run some version of this back where it's Ant, Shea, 2, Denny, DA, Donovan, however they decide to split that up, and then Tease, Murray, insert draft pick here kind of situation. That's kind of what you're looking at, right?
I mean, that's basically, what I'm asking.
You're saying, okay, let's just say they assume they make...
How much hinges on their growth? Because a lot of that was like internal development. I'm hearing that a lot. Okay, so how much of their internal development, it depends what they're...
You're counting on shit. You're counting on Ant to kind of return back to form and not have the first half of a season that he had. That's really number one. Yeah, he was, and he's been bluntly honest about that. He wasn't good. You're counting on Denny to basically... I'm not expecting Denny to look, his final 30, he averaged like 23, 9, and 5. I had his ceiling. When we talked about this trade, I was like, I think he can be an 18, 8, and 5 guy. I think we've gone past that. I think he's a 20-point-a-game guy. I genuinely do. I think he's a 20.8 rebound, 4 assist guy. And at 6'9", 250, there's like 5 other guys in the league that can do what he does at his production.
You and I agree 100% on Denny overall as a player.
Yeah, he's
on a very good team, he's a 3, right?
Who could toggle up to the 2. Yeah, I look at him like...
He has a couple games, but not consistent.
Now, if the final 30 games is like who he is, which I always have hesitancy of any player in the final 30 games, but if he is a 22 a game, 22 and 9, 22 and 10, because that's what you're talking about. When you're talking about 5 games, you're talking about margins.
I am. I'm talking about those margins.
Yeah, and the margins are Ant goes from 19 a game to back to 22 a game. Shaden goes from 19 a game to 21 a game. Denny goes from he finished the season at 17 to where he's 20 a game. 2, I think you just kind of try to hope that he optimizes a few things offensively. And then DA or Klingon, depending on which one you get, are you leaning more into the defense? Or are you leaning more into the offense? Like those are like, and that's without, again, that's glass half full. Like that's glass full. But that's with basically no changes, with the insertion of like a very like average rookie getting back kind of draft capital for Jeremy and not somebody that you're going to work in there. I think it's viable. I think it's possible. I would say it's more unlikely than likely because I always defer to unlikely as far as growth curves because the history says like once you get to 24, 25, you're mostly just fine-tuning stuff. Every now and then there's a Norm Powell. Every now and then there's a Wes Matthews. Every now and then there's this guy that somehow, some way, through some sheer form of magic is able to change stuff.
Chauncey Billups. Yeah.
Yeah, Chauncey is a perfect example of like a guy who was cast off and then All-Star, Finals MVP. Like those are rare. And so using those, like, it's like using Jokic. Well, you could find the next star. It's like, there's been one guy. Mm-hmm. Like, no, like if you get it, great. Love it. But you can't base your organization off that. On the flip side of it, and you know this about me, I've always been the math guy. Tanking has a purpose. I hate it, but the math is the math. And the more I'm around other organizations that are going through it and how much they don't want to do it and how much they almost, like even the Wizards, they steered out of it a little bit at the end.
Well, their young players started playing. Bub Carrington had some good games.
But they add Middleton and Smart, too. Like, that was the organization going, this is too much of a shit show.
Sure.
And because you start looking at this and you go, we can't base the future of our organization on 14%. And like everybody's like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I'm like, I know, but... You know what I mean? And it's like...
But they were never going to be that bad.
I'm with you on that.
I don't think... Like, I know that the noise is loud on this topic. Okay, I get it. But, like, there is more context to it than just screaming, be this, be that. Like, this is all my point is. You can have everything you had, but you lose 5 more games because you go, we're We're down 6 with 3 minutes to go. Ant, you gave it your best shot,
Yeah.
buddy. You know what I mean? Like
I get
they
it.
quite literally did that last year.
Look,
so,
I'm with you. Like at post trade deadline, my thought process was that they should steer into it.
I just think he's worth it. Again, not bottom 3. It's not reasonable. I just thought he's the prospect, and roster wise, he makes the most sense. I mean, we watched one of the most special freshman seasons, and I'm like, I kept watching the Final Four, or the Sweet 16, and I'm just watching, and I'm like, oh, that's Tamani there, not Con Knipple. That could be Shaden. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just watching this, and not Proctor. Like, I'm watching this with a blazer eye, and like, God, I want this kid, and I hope the balls bounce their way. I hope that we're honest and reasonable about this as a fan base, because we're a little split. Let's not throw it in faces if they hit and get one. Like, we all know that's lucky, and that's the biggest of luck in the world.
Yeah.
But let's not be mean to each other if they finish where they finished. I can't explain why they did what they did, Danny. But I am curious, if everything we just talked about happens, I'm fascinated to see how this market reacts if they largely are running it back with a rookie. Like, I just don't know where that's going to be for people. I really don't, because I have mixed reviews in my life personally. I got a family that are diehards that'll eat, breathe, snort this crap, and I got friends that are like, yo, we need to build this the right way. Let's not skip steps. Oh, they're running it back with a 36-win team.
I'll get you out of here on this because I know you got to get going.
Yeah.
What do you want to see happen outside of landing Cooper Flagg? Like, just give me the quick 10,000-foot view of what you would like to see happen this summer. So, let's just assume that they pick 9th.
Okay, so they stay where they are, and I'm assuming they're not going to move because people that are ahead of them want that pick. Can I get real weird here?
Yeah, get weird. Absolutely. That's what this is for.
So, and this is not a shot at the front office decision making. I'm thinking of how everything is unfolded now. Mm-hmm. In retrospect, if you end up re-signing Ant, and we're talking about this and it does happen, you look back a little bit and you go, man, if you would have just said, like, we really love this dude, I don't know if Blazer fan would have been like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, we knew we could get buckets. That 4-game stretch where he beat Memphis and Ja in Memphis, like, I'll never forget that game. We were doing that game live together. Mm-hmm. And you took a swing, he would have gotten killed for it. So, again, it's easy for me to sit here and say this now, but, like, I just wish they would have committed to Ant. And I know Scoot was kind of the no-brainer pick at the moment. But if I'm like really getting weird and they stay at 9 and they want to re-sign Ant, I'm kind of to a point where I go, well, you kind of know internally, don't we? Hey. Yeah. Scooter. Yeah. Yeah. And see and ask. And maybe there's some good stuff. I'm just saying, if they re-sign Ant, I don't know how Scoot starts. It's year 3. I just kind of feel like that you're telling me maybe it isn't what we thought it was or hoped it would be. And so, like, I'm starting there. I'm looking to move DA because I want Donovan. I want him playing. I like that.
We've been talking about this the last 2 days on the radio. This is my, like, okay, I think this is about right value wise. And again, this is all me, not anyone else. Scoot DA for Zion. Would you do it?
Oh, man.
Comes with a lot of risk.
Dude, it
comes with a lot of risk.
A ton of risk.
Because Dusty's like, they need to make a move of impact this summer. And I'm like, I think they need to make a
impact. He played 30 games.
Yeah, I'm of the, who's the Denny Avdia of this year? Like, let's get another good player in here who's young. But the problem is, I went through the list of, like, players that are under 20 or 24 and under.
Sure.
Last pod of the pod before, it was like, who's the guy on this list? Like, every single one of them is, like, scary or, like, comes with their baggage. Whether it's Zion, whether it's Ja, whether it's LaMelo. Like, obviously, there's varying levels of scary within this and varying levels of money and everything else that kind of goes with that. But it's like, who's the guy? And it's like, okay, like, maybe they have something. Maybe they don't. I don't know.
I'll answer your question, and then I'll make a note of something that, man, I would just pie in the sky would be my dream. No, I wouldn't. And I can't believe I'm saying no, I wouldn't. It just
nor would I. I'm at that point.
It's the worst organization in the league, and I know that Charlotte exists, and I know that Washington exists.
I'd say Chicago, but New Orleans is right there.
Well, Chicago just loves to do what they did. They love to get to the play-in and be like, hey, we got kind of fun stuff, don't we? Well, just kidding. See you next year. And get that money. New Orleans is flat out incompetent.
Yeah.
And so,
which is why you're seeing the changes you're seeing.
Right. And I understand that sometimes athletes in bad organizations, they need a restart. And it very well could be that. But he's shown no evidence of staying healthy.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get excited for 30 games? Like, I know that sounds crazy to people, but I actually think I'm out. I think I'm out on problematic players and maybe even players that do podcasts. I might be adopting Ben Golliver's philosophy. You doing an in-season podcast? Get out of here. I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it.
My pie in the sky, dude. Like, I know we're not in this running. I know it's more Houston, but like, if Phoenix reaches a self-destruct internal mode,
you're giving up literally everything that's not nailed down for Devin Booker.
I mean, you're making the money match and you're giving them those picks, and we're saying like, all right, here we go. That's the move I would love them to make, because I don't know who the Denny Avdia is going to be this summer. I wish I did. But no, I wouldn't do that Zion trade. And if they run it back, and let's say they make the 10 seed, they don't win, I think it's fair for people to go, okay, like, what did we do? We won a few more games, but like, how are we going to progress now?
Unless the development is like noted or some injury, like yeah. And that's the thing is like they had so much health luck this year. Knock on all the wood. But yeah, I'm with you. And like watching the NBA now and watching these organizations kind of blow up because of player issues. Yeah. I think more and more organizations are like, and again, I'm not giving Nico Harrison credit here because by God, that trade is inexcusable. But I think that their ownership and him, it wasn't just fear of Luka's health. I think there was some unnecessary fear about that new league that's starting up with Rich Paul, and could they Saudi Arabia this and throw $500 million at Luka Doncic to go play overseas? No, again, but like it's the dumbest.
You want to build around this guy?
Yeah. Although,
like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, and it's just like
it was disturbing that the Hoop Summit players were doing that. By the way, I'm like, that's who they're looking up to.
I will say, Tunde's that dude, the guy who did that.
Oh, I mean,
Tunde's that dude. Like
there was some dudes on those teams, man.
Yeah. I will say this: Cam Boozer is Tim Duncan 2.0.
Oh,
yeah.
Buddy, that is a hot take.
The most boring star I've ever seen play as a high schooler. Just doesn't do anything wrong, always in the right spot, and his spectacular plays aren't spectacular because he's not out of position on either end.
That international team had some dudes, though.
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, Tunde is a real dude. Dame Sarr is a real dude. Like, there was some juice, and shout out Marshall Cho for having those guys ready in the way that they did. All right, I know you got to get out of here. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you want to come back and hit some of these questions later on next couple weeks?
Yeah. Save some questions. I'll come on to a pod in the next few weeks.
All right, so there we go, guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to your questions because we did what we always do. We always go long, but he's got to get out of here and go coach. So, Sprague, I love you, brother. Go coach some basketball. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Follow me. Well, actually, I'm not really on social media much anymore.
Look at you.
Well, I'm trying to unplug. I've also been super busy. Tune in the radio show. Tune in the radio station, 1080 The Fan. I'm on in the morning. Danny's on the afternoon. We got it locked and loaded. It's great to be back doing this podcast with you. We didn't embrace debate enough. We didn't enough screaming happening.
No. This is
you are an idiot though, and I'm right.
There we go.
Everybody.
It's a kinder, gentler, softer Danny. All right, everybody. You know what to do. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Do all of the things. Help us grow the